Hello, everyone. My name is Mirna, and on behalf of the Mindalia TV team, we want to welcome you to Mindalia live streaming, where thousands of people around the world gather to see the lectures and interviews programmed by MindaliaTV.com. Today with us, we have Saiedah Luna. Saiedah is an intuitive counselor, energy healer, starseed mentor, and celestial channel. She dedicates her energy to helping others understand the potential that lies beyond the trauma and pain they have experienced in life through communicating with a spiritual team of angels, ascended masters, and star beings. Before going with Saiedah, we want to remind you that if you want to help people just like you to have access to the information we share in Mindalia TV, there is a couple of things you can do. Just by liking this video, leaving us a positive comment down below, or subscribing to our channel. That is the way in which you can help us reach as much people as possible around the world. Also, we want to let you know that while we are live streaming, there is the active chat on the side of your screen. There you can just enter the questions that you may have. Just please remember the format, the word question, and the question that you actually want answered. And at the end of the talk, Saiedah will be kind and answer for us. Without further ado, I'm going to be leaving you with Saiedah. Saiedah, the screen is yours.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. My name is Saiedah, and today I would like to talk to you about a topic that is near and dear to my heart, and it is that of starseeds and the journey of awakening. Okay, so now the terms starseed and star person I will be using interchangeably, so just know that they both mean the same thing, okay? So I'm just going to run through a brief outline to let you know some of the subtopics that I'll be talking about in relation to starseeds and the journey of awakening. So the first thing I'd like to speak about is, what is a starseed exactly? Some people have heard of this term and some people haven't. So I'm going to be describing that. What is a starseed? What qualities make up a starseed? So how would you know when you've met a starseed, or what kind of qualities do they present? How would one know if they're a starseed? So besides the qualities that starseeds tend to present, how would one know deep within their soul that they actually are a starseed? Okay. Another thing I'll be talking about are different ways to have an understanding of what your origins are, and I'll explain what that means in a second. The next topic will be about the awakening process and dealing with the process of awakening. Okay. Support that comes from the physical realm as well as from the higher realms or the ethereal realms. How one can get in touch with what would be called your star family. Okay, so I'll tell you what that means in a second. And the last thing I'll talk about is tips for spiritual self-care, which is very important, not only for starseeds, but for all beings, as we're all spiritual beings. Okay? All right, so first thing is, what is a starseed exactly? So like I said, some of you may have heard this term, some of you may have not. Okay, it's still a term that's gaining public notice, and some people are just getting to know about it. Some people are still in the dark. But the thing is that starseeds or star people are starting to come onto the planet more and more as time goes on, okay? So a starseed is an individual who is in a physical body, but their consciousness, their soul, has incarnated first on another star system, okay? And I actually would like to make the distinction between someone who has incarnated first on another star system, planet, or galaxy, and someone who in between lifetimes has done some study or some soul work on like another star system, a planet, or a galaxy, okay? Because a lot of us do that. A lot of us, when we're in between lifetimes, we go through different spiritual schools in the other realms, and sometimes they're on other planets or other star systems, okay? So for the purpose of identification, we're going to call people starseeds that their first incarnation was on another planet, star system, or galaxy, okay? So a starseed is someone who's had that as their experience, and when they come to Earth, they usually choose to incarnate on Earth, okay? And starseeds have been incarnating on Earth since the beginning of time, okay? As far back as Atlantis, which is an ancient civilization, which some say was in the Atlantic Ocean, since the time of Lemuria, which was an ancient civilization in the Pacific Ocean. Since the time of ancient Egypt, since the time of the ancient Mayan civilization, starseeds have been incarnating on the planet, okay? Maybe not as numerous as now, but they've always been around. And the goal for many people that are starseeds is to anchor in a certain vibration of light, love, and wisdom, okay? Because starseeds, as I said, they come from other star systems first, such as, let's say, Sirius. Some of you may have heard of Sirius B, which is in the Canis Major constellation. The Pleiades, which is in Taurus, the Taurus constellation. Some have come from Venus, just to give you an example, so you know what I'm referring to. Okay, so now these star systems and planets all carry wisdom within them. Okay, so there are different realms of existence on these planets. Some are physical, some are ethereal. But besides a star seed or a star person having their experience on these star systems, the star systems themselves are light and they hold wisdom within them. Just as you have the trees and you have the water, you have all of nature on this planet that has wisdom, the stars also hold wisdom, and they are portals to higher states of being and the wisdom that God has imbued within all of us and all of nature. So the stars hold wisdom for us, okay? So when a star seed elects to come to the planet Earth, usually what's happening is they are carrying their wisdom from these different star systems or planets to the people on Earth, okay, to the Earth, because they're anchoring in light, love, and wisdom on Earth, okay? And as far
Saida,
as, yes.
do you want to lower a little bit more the broadband?
Oh, is it?
Yeah, let's try and sorry to interrupt you.
Oh, no, it's okay. No problem. Let's see. Let's try it. Okay, it's on pretty low now. So,
Okay, let's continue. My apologies.
okay, no problem. Okay, so now usually when a starseed elects to come to planet Earth, not only do they carry the wisdom of their star system with them when they come to Earth, but they're typically programmed with a certain mission within their consciousness. And typically this mission is to bring, like I said, the love, the light, and the wisdom of that star system, as all the different star systems have their wisdom, and they also have certain qualities. So for instance, the star system of the Pleiades is all about heart expansion, tapping into the heart and Christ consciousness, okay? For Sirius, it's all about the third eye and knowledge, ancient knowledge and wisdom, okay? It also is a very deeply penetrative healing energy. So, you know, and everyone, depending on their personal energy signature or the energy that someone comes in with, when they're born, it may come through and translate a little bit differently for everyone, okay? So when a starseed incarnates on Earth and they elect to take on that mission, they bring wisdom, they bring their mission with them, okay? And they also come with a certain plan for their life. So typically starseeds have a certain number of obstacles and a certain number of challenges that they need to get through. One being the challenge of remembering who they are, okay? So now I'm not sure if back in Egyptian times and during these ancient civilizations, if they needed to experience this reawakening and re-remembering, you know, at that time, but in this day and age, this is what happens with starseeds. We forget who we are, and then we have to remember and remember again through lifetime after lifetime. Okay, so that is a huge part of the starseed experience and what they tend to go through their life. So one of the reasons why there's different theories as to why there are more starseeds incarnating on the planet nowadays, one being that a distress call went out. Okay, distress call being that the people of Earth started to notice a deviation from their spirituality, from their spiritual nature. It started to get more dense. Things started to get a little bit more physical in the sense of scientific, moving away from oneness, the fact that we're all one and we all come from one divine creator. moving away from love and more into technology, more into using people to do work for them. So we started to move away from the source of all creation, away from oneness, away from love, and into all these things, which we're actually still kind of in right now. Okay, so we're still working on that. But that's one of the reasons why more starseeds are incarnating on the planet nowadays, is because we need to be reminded of who we are, that we're beings of love, beings of light, and that we all come from one consciousness and just oneness and divine love, okay? So now that may translate differently depending on the starseed. Not all starseeds are meant to be spiritual leaders in the sense that they're not all meant to be spiritual teachers, okay? But a lot of starseeds, I'd say pretty much a majority of them are anchoring their light in some way. Some starseeds may be politicians, but may be trying to improve situations for the world. Some may be environmentalists trying to prevent, the destruction of rainforests. Some people might be healers, working with different healing modalities. Some people may be veterinarians. So you see there are different ways that a starseed may translate their light and bring it to Earth. They don't all necessarily have to be spiritual teachers and healers, but they do heal in some way. Okay, so the next thing is, what kind of qualities do starseeds present? So what would a starseed feel like? What would their personality be like? Well, starseed, one of the first qualities I'll mention is that they tend to feel like they're not from Earth, okay? They don't necessarily have to feel like an alien, but they may feel alienated. They may feel isolated from people. They may feel as though something's different about them. They may feel as though they're isolated from their family. They may feel like the odd one out in their family. They may have problems making friends. They may have difficulty in traditional school systems. So, and hey, maybe sometimes they do feel like an alien. That may be part of it as well. But for a lot of starseeds that are young and growing up and they still don't have self-awareness and understanding, they may just feel different, okay? Okay, let's see. Another strong quality for starseeds is that they have a very strong and keen intuition. They may not understand exactly what it is they feel or why they feel it, but they are deep feelers, okay? So now intuition, of course, is that inner voice that tells you when something is right, when something is out of alignment with your higher good or what's best for you. So sometimes how that can translate for a starseed is that they may just not like somebody and they don't understand why, or they may not just want to be someplace and they don't understand why. They may not want to deal with certain people and they don't understand why. So, depending on the support they have from their family and depending on how much their family explains to them about intuition and, their inner voice, it may translate in different ways, okay? But they all tend to have a very strong intuition, okay? And the next one I'm gonna talk about goes in line with intuition, and that's sensitivity, okay? Now, part of being intuitive is being sensitive. So typically very strong intuitive people also tend to be sensitive, okay? So when it comes to sensitivity, they may be sensitive to certain environments. Again, they may be sensitive to certain people. They may be sensitive to certain foods. So again, until a starseed has self-awareness and an understanding of what they feel within their mind, body, their soul, their spirit, they may not know what they're feeling. So me, for example, being very sensitive to certain foods, I didn't have an awareness of it until much later on, okay? When I started to get more into my intuition and into my spiritual path, then I had realized why I was drawn to eating certain foods which weren't good for me, which really served to fill an emptiness. So that's part of what may happen with some people that are starseeds. Another quality is an attraction to spirituality or metaphysics. So you may find that starseeds tend to be very drawn to life after death, okay? What people typically say is that starseeds tend to be into anything that's ET, extraterrestrial, that has to do with UFOs. That may not be the case, okay? So the qualities that I'm listing, like I said, it may translate different for everybody. So when I was growing up, I wasn't necessarily into UFOs and ETs. I was into astronomy though. I was into the stars and the planets. I was into stuff like that. So it may translate like that for you or somebody else. You may be into magic, whether it be earth magic or, magic from different cultures. Some people may be interested in ancestral magic, such as like voodoo or Santeria. So they can be into earth magic as well. They may be into, let's say, crystals or the occult. So there are different things that they tend to be into. That actually tends to be a very Syrian quality, is being into magic and the occult. Okay, another thing they may be interested in is certain ancient civilizations, such as ancient Egypt, the ancient Mayans, Celtic civilizations or pre-Celtic civilizations, fairies. I mentioned fairies because they're pre-Celtic, okay? So there's actually legends behind the fairies, and they're supposedly pre-Celtic. Okay, so they may be into things like that. And one of the reasons for that is that a lot of starseeds tend to incarnate in these civilizations, not only to bring their wisdom into these civilizations, but to have the experience needed to prepare for their mission in later lifetimes. Okay, so that's part of it as well. Okay, another quality is being wise beyond their years. Okay, so a lot of them, let's say 10 years old, but their teachers and their parents may notice that they're very mature for their age, the way they talk, the things that they say, just possessing a profound wisdom that is beyond explanation. And that is part of being a starseed, because they're carrying ancient wisdom within them that when the time is right will activate. Okay, and they'll be they'll be able to fully embrace and hone this wisdom for themselves when the time is right. Okay, another quality which may or may not happen with starseeds is a strong sense of purpose. Okay, so they may not understand what the feeling is, but they may feel like they have something to do here. They may not know what it is, but they have a sense of there's something important that I need to do. And until they figure out what it is, or until they have some sort of idea of how they're supposed to do it, there may be some anxiety, uncertainty, feeling lost. Okay, so feeling lost is very common among starseeds too, because they feel as though they've been dropped off on the planet and they don't know what to do from here. And the goal is for starseeds is to remember who they are, okay? And that helps them to feel at home on Earth once again, okay? And let's see, another quality is a disinterest in the mundane. Okay, so like I said earlier, I believe they may have a disinterest in like traditional school systems. They may struggle or they may excel. Like I said, it may be different for everyone. Some maybe don't feel challenged in traditional school systems because they're so intelligent. And some people really excel because they're really good at school, very intelligent. Some people are not interested in working a regular 9-to-5 job. It may be something that's too restricting for them. And one of the reasons for that is that a lot of starseeds, their goal is to deconstruct a lot of the old systems that have been put into place over time. Systems of hierarchy, systems of control. They're here to get rid of all that stuff, okay, which is why they don't do well in those systems and in those jobs. Another thing too about that is that some starseeds may move from job to job. Okay, they may have a hard time finding a job that works for them. And again, that's because they're not meant to be in a traditional job. They're meant to find their purpose, to find their calling, and then do that. Okay. Another quality is that they have an interest in healing others. Okay, so like I said, whether that be through actual healing, whether it be through Reiki, acupuncture, massage. Some people want to be vets. They want to heal animals. Some people might want to do sound healing. Or they just may be interested in helping people, like I said, whether it be through politics or whether it be through music, there is a desire to help others. One thing I want to say too, that I actually didn't put in my outline for the qualities is that they don't like a lot of attention for the help that they give. Okay, so they may want to stay behind the scenes. They may want to do something nice and then just go in the background and do whatever they were doing before. Okay, so they don't always like credit or to be in the spotlight. And that might be a challenge for them too, when it comes to their awakening and those that are meant to be spiritual teachers have to get attention for what they do. It tends to be a struggle. Okay. And the last one is rebelling against the status quo. So that has to do with what I had mentioned about school, about work. It's to get rid of the old systems that have been put in place. So they may be seen as rebels. Okay. Some of them may disobey their parents. So, parents beware. If you have a starseed child, you got to work with them, okay, and try to meet them where they're at, okay, because they can be difficult at times. Okay, so I'm going to move on to, besides these qualities, how would one know deep within their soul that they are a starseed? It may sound very simple, and it may sound very like, okay, that's it. But the truth is that you already know, okay? So you have to trust how you got here, how you found this information, how you found the people that presented this information to you. You have to trust your interests, and you have to trust what is being presented to you and how it's being presented to you. Like, how did you end up here? Or how did you end up reading that book? How did you end up going to that class? It's not random, especially if you feel a stirring within your heart space, especially if you feel a deep sense that if you don't proceed to learn more, that you get anxious or you feel uncomfortable or you feel like something is missing, okay? So trusting within the heart and trusting in what you feel and where the universe has guided you is part of understanding and knowing that you are a starseed, okay? And I make this very clear because I know for myself, I had a very hard time trusting my intuition. When I look back on it, I see that I was right the whole time, and I questioned myself unnecessarily, okay? So that's really important for starseeds to understand, is to trust their own intuition and to trust how they feel, okay? So next thing I want to talk about is how to find out your star origins. So as I had elaborated on a bit earlier, some starseeds may come from another planet like Venus, okay? Some may come from Mars. I know there are some that have moon energy. Some may come from Sirius, the Pleiades, Orion, okay? So that's a common one and popular one. Some may come from Zeta Reticuli. There are different star systems that starseeds can come from or have their origins in. And a lot of people are very curious to find out, well, which one is mine? How do I know? Again, through the heart center, that's like the first thing that'll let you know. Okay, but what I like to recommend to people is to start looking at pictures. Start looking at pictures of these different star systems and see which ones really speak to you, which pictures you feel a strongest resonance with, okay? You can do that with the pictures. You can also do that through, let's say, the qualities that I had mentioned, there are also qualities for different star races, as I'll call them today. And you can find those, because I'm not sure if I'll have time to touch upon all of them today, okay? But like, for instance, people that are Syrian tend to be very deep, strong healers. They tend to be very connected to ancient Egypt, as well as Atlantis and Lemuria. They also tend to be very strong in terms of their clairvoyance. Okay, so they can really see things beyond the physical. They're also into the occult, sometimes darker levels of magic. Okay, that tends to be part of it too for some Syrians. Okay, Pleiadians, for example, they tend to be very heart-centered, extremely sensitive. So they have to be very careful of taking on someone else's calling as their own and assuming other people's energy, really needing to work with their boundaries. I'm trying to think about what else. This wasn't really planned, but also being very, very sensitive in terms of their emotions, having a lot of emotional ups and downs. Starseeds from Andromeda tend to be very drawn to water, to dolphins. They may also have a very hard time being held within a box. Now, this is just some of the examples of how star people can come across from different star systems, just so you have an idea. But I like to recommend the pictures because I feel like a lot of people, once they see the qualities, they tend to restrict themselves to those qualities. And they say, well, if I don't have these qualities, this is not where I'm from. And that's just not the case. You know, everyone's different. Everyone has a unique energy signature, a unique way of translating their imprints, what I like to call imprints, when you have energy from another star system, different ways of translating it. Okay, so try not to get too bent on the qualities. Okay, that's not the end all and be all. Okay, all right, so the next thing that I want to touch upon is dealing with the process of awakening. And this is big for me because I know as a starseed myself and someone who is of spiritual service, I had to go through my own spiritual awakening, okay, which was very difficult for me. And it tends to be difficult for many starseeds and star people because it requires the individual to release anything which is not serving them. It requires them to release people from their lives which are not in alignment with their purpose. It requires them to clear out certain jobs, certain identities which are not authentic. The whole purpose is to bring the individual back to their authentic self. And what a lot of people don't realize, what happens over time, is when we deal with friends, when we deal with family members, when we deal with romantic relationships, there are certain things that are asked of us, that are pushed on us. And as humans, you know, we have to deal with it in the best way possible. And sometimes we create certain personality characteristics to be able to deal with that. And it's not necessarily authentic to us. It's just what we have to do at the time being to deal with trauma or to deal with other people. Okay, so now this process of awakening tends to be really difficult, you know, and it does happen within a certain time frame. I like to say that all starseeds have an alarm clock that is within them that tends to go off when the time is right and when they're ready to embrace who they are. Now, it may happen differently for everybody. So I know for me, Reiki, which is a healing modality from Japan, that was what triggered my awakening process. So once I did the first couple of levels of Reiki, that's when I started to feel the awakening happen. That's when I started to feel a shift within my consciousness that I couldn't be with the person I was with at the time in a romantic relationship. My relationship started to fail with my family members. I was in a certain educational program at the time. I didn't end up, I completed it, but I didn't go to the next level because I felt that it didn't resonate with me anymore. And I ended up changing locations. So these are just some of the things that can happen in the process of awakening for a starseed or a star person. And it's very difficult because not only does the person have to release an identity that is not authentic, but you know, the person has to be willing to do so in a way that they hold their center, that they don't lose control, and that they don't resist. Okay, it's very common for starseeds to resist the awakening process, which is something that I did, which I can't say I recommend to anybody. Try not to resist the awakening process. I feel like it can cause a lot of anxiety, it can cause a lot of depression, and it can cause a lot of emotional imbalance. But I feel some people may have to go through that, excuse me, in order to get to the next level. Sometimes you have to resist and then something pops and then you just end up, you end up where you need to be, okay? So I'm trying to see what else I wanted to mention about the process of awakening. I guess I want to talk about a little bit about how my process happened, because I feel like this is something that starseeds tend to experience when they're going through a process of awakening, but they may underestimate it. I know for me, just an idea of what I went through, I was in the car with my then, you know, romantic partner at the time, and we were just driving, and I was actually feeling very calm, very serene, very normal. And when I looked at the clock, it said 11:11. Now, some people were like, okay, well, that's a number. Like, who cares about a number? But it wasn't just the number. There was an energy behind the number. And when I saw that number, something in time stopped. It felt like time had stopped, and it felt like I was in a whirlwind at that very moment. To this day, I can't believe that I felt that way because I haven't had that since then. And I felt like I was being realigned, things were being readjusted within me. And I was like, okay, I felt something's going to happen. And after that, I noticed that things started to change. I became more emotional and became more sensitive. And I remember being in the bathroom one day after being emotional, and I heard very clearly, you have to leave him. Okay, and this was the person that I was with at the time. And I lost it. I'm like, I don't understand why I would have to do that. You guys haven't given me any reason why I should. And deep, my mind was arguing, but my heart knew something needed to change. And from then on out, for about a year and a half after that, I resisted the change. And I was anxious. I was not able to enjoy myself at all. And after a certain period of time, things just fell apart. He ended up leaving me. So that's what happens when you resist, that the universe is like, okay, so if you want to resist this process, we're going to have to push you to where you need to be. And that tends to be a little bit harder. It tends to be more time consuming. And, like I said, it takes longer. Okay. So after that, I went through the death of my grandfather, which was really hard for me. And like I said, the relationship with my family was starting to get negative and, just not beneficial. And later on, I was introduced to my star family, which I will touch upon in a couple of minutes. I was introduced to my star family, and from them, they've been my biggest support, is my star family, okay? So now that's where I want to touch upon physical and ethereal support, okay? So when a starseed begins to awaken, they get to a vibration or an energy signature where they start to draw in support from the physical realm and from the ethereal realm. So they may start to attract people of like mind. They start to attract friends. So they may lose friends, but then different friends that are of like mind will come in to support them. Okay. They may attract certain teachers and mentors that are meant to help elevate their process. And they will also attract certain spirit guides, certain like members of their spiritual team. Certain like ascended masters such as Jesus, Mother Mary, some may have Krishna, depending on the person and what they resonate with. Some people will have certain angels. I know Archangel Uriel was a big angel that came through for me during my awakening process. Okay. And, it can vary depending on the person, but I feel like it's really important for a starseed to know this, because since they tend to feel like black sheeps, they need to understand that their blood family may not necessarily be the crux of their support. You have a soul family on earth. They're people that you resonate with that are supposed to come in at the right time to help you. So that's a part of their family and their physical support and their ethereal support. Now, staying on the topic of ethereal support, starseeds tend to have special spirit guides, okay? They tend to have beings that are galactic in nature. So a lot of these people may be family members from their star system of origin, Sirius, the Pleiades, Venus, okay? And when the time is right and the vibration is right, they come in as spiritual support to help them along. And people that know about starseeds know this, and they want to know, well, how do I get in touch with my star family? And how do I know who they are? Okay. Now, I feel like this is a process that cannot be rushed. It cannot be forced. It needs to happen on its own. The best thing that I can recommend for someone, if they want to get in touch with their star family, is to send the intention out. Send love. So just, you can imagine little hearts being sent to your star family. And you can imagine your star family as just like a cluster of stars if you want to, or a silhouette of stars, like that look like people but are made up of stars if you want. The intention is what matters. So you can send them little hearts, and you can just send them thoughts and let them know, I am ready. I am ready to receive your wisdom, your support, and I'm open. From there, you just got to leave it alone, okay? You just have to be open and receptive to receiving their guidance. Now, the way they come in, may be different for everybody, but they tend to come in through meditation. They may come through during dream state, okay? They may also come during that state where it's like in between sleeping and wakefulness, or wakefulness and sleeping. So pay attention to those states of sleep and wakefulness, because those are very sensitive spiritual periods. So you want to pay attention to that. And the reason for this, some people want to know, well, why doesn't my star family just manifest, like, so I can see them with my physical eyes? Well, the reason for that is because they're at a certain vibration where once they come into this dimension, which is the third dimension, the physical realm, it can get dangerous. Okay, so they have to be very careful with their vibration. So they tend to come through the astral realm, which is, closer to us, but not so close that they become physical. And it really helps for you to raise your vibration. Okay, so they can meet you halfway. Okay, so that helps. And I want to talk about next how you can raise your vibration, actually. One thing you can do is send love to yourself. Okay, so practice self-love and self-acceptance. That tends to be a big struggle for people. Having self-love, compassion, and forgiveness for yourself. Okay, eating right, eating good foods. So pay attention to what you're sensitive to food-wise, and only eat those things that make you feel good. And I laugh because you don't have to be perfect. Okay, so I'm not perfect. I don't eat radishes and broccoli all day. I eat things that I like, but I do it in moderation. Okay, so don't eat like that 90% of the time. Leave that for like 10% of the time that you indulge in little snacks. For most of the time, you want to eat well. You want to eat high vibrational foods, fruits and vegetables. Okay. Another thing you could do is pray. I feel prayer is really important because it brings your mind, your body, your spirit into alignment with the divine and the universe. It also helps to set your intention on what it is that you're praying for, or if you just want to talk it out with the divine, with the creator, that's fine too, as long as you're praying. Okay, so as long as you're bringing your awareness into alignment with the divine. Okay, meditation. I feel like for everyone, whether you're a starseed or you're just on a spiritual path, meditation is important because it brings you into higher self-awareness. You have a higher awareness of who you are. And once you know who you are, that is a big thing for your spiritual growth, okay? Because that's where the divine is. It's within your heart. So if you know who you are, that'll help your spiritual growth, and it'll help you to raise your vibration so you can get in touch with your spiritual team. You can get in touch with the divine, okay? So it's a win-win, okay? It also increases your sensitivity too. So you become more sensitive to the spiritual realm. And one thing, the last thing that I'm going to mention that a lot of people don't talk about is getting rest. Getting rest is so important. What happens when you're tired, when you're overworked, when you have tons of responsibility, is that your aura actually gets weak. Okay, so when you're tired, the aura gets weak. And it's really important for the aura's strength that you have life force energy. And part of having life force energy is being well rested. Okay, so make sure you get enough rest in order to be able to have a strong aura, have a strong connection to your physical body. Okay, being strongly connected to your physical body is important for gaining access to the divine as well, because you're a physical and spiritual being. And it really helps to clear your thoughts, clear your emotions, and clear your spirit. Okay. I also want to say spending time in nature. I feel getting in touch with nature is important for spiritual care and raising your vibration too. Okay. So, I mean, that's pretty much a lot of what I wanted to talk to you about today for the starseeds out there, or the people that are even just on a spiritual path, is, how to get in touch with your spiritual team. If you are a starseed, what that means, what that may look like for you. And like I said, it's a topic that's near and dear to my heart because as a starseed myself, I had to go through so much to get where I am today. And I hope that it helps you, and I hope it helps you to see that you are a being of light and of love, and that you gain access to the divine within you. Okay, so I'm done with that, and it's concluded.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And well, we are going to go now to the Q&A section, okay?
Okay.
Before going to the Q&A section, we, as always, want to remind our audience that Mindalia TV is a nonprofit organization Our only mission is to help raise the level of consciousness around the world. And in order to help us reach as much people as possible, you can do a couple of great things. Just by liking our channel, this video, subscribing, of course, and leaving us a positive comment down below, or just interacting right now, sharing this video with someone that you know that may like it and it may be useful for them. That is a great way of helping us reach people as well. And we also want to remind you that the active chat is still open. So if you have questions, just remember the format: the word question, the question that you want actually answered, and we are going to start with the Q&A section right now. You are going to be hearing my voice, Saiedah, but you won't see my face. I'm going to be right here, okay? I'm going back to you. As we start the Q&A section, the first question is, how do we know where is our soul coming from?
Okay. Well, I feel as though a big way to have a sense of knowing is to tap into your heart center. Okay. So the heart, some people preach this, some people don't. I'm very firm on this when it comes to spirituality, and taking the path of the mystic is being in touch with your heart center. So pay attention to what your heart is saying to you, what it is that you feel in your physical body, which would be clairsentience, which is connected to your heart center. Okay. And I would assume when you say where your soul is coming from, you mean galactic wise, or in terms of the star system in general. Start with what you feel first, and then ask the divine to send you confirmation of that, whether it be through other people or signs that you may see in your environment. Okay. Another thing, honestly, that you can do is get a reading. If you really feel like, oh my goodness, like I get all these signs, but I still don't feel good about it, get a reading and have someone confirm it for you. But just know when you get the reading that you may be like, oh, okay. So, so basically is what I've been feeling the whole time. So that's what I recommend. So you have an idea of where your soul is coming from.
Thank you, Saiedah, for that answer. The next question says, how do I make my family accept that I am different?
Okay, that's actually a good question. And I feel like it's very common among starseeds and people on the spiritual path. The thing is that we have to accept first that they may not accept that we're different, okay? And there's nothing that we can really do to make our family or friends accept that we're different. The only thing that we can do is have enough confidence within ourselves to know that it's okay that we're different. It's okay if other people don't accept who we are. And I feel like an issue that can present itself is that we feel alone, and we feel that who we are is not enough, or else people would stick around and would accept us. And it's not personal at all. And people are doing the best that they can with what they know and what they came into this lifetime with. Sometimes when our family doesn't accept who we are, that is part of the path of growth for us. Sometimes we have to go through these things where the family doesn't accept us, and then, sometimes we have to move away from them, or sometimes there's conflict. We have to really get the lesson out of that and say, well, what is this showing me? What is this showing me that my family's not accepting me and I'm having an issue with it? That's where unconditional love and compassion comes in. They either will accept at a later date. Sometimes you need time and space in order for them to accept it, or they may never accept it. And that's okay too. Everyone is on their individual spiritual path, and that's what we need to accept first and foremost. So that's my answer.
Thank you, Saiedah. The next question that we have is, are all kids nowadays starseeds? Is that why they are so sensitive?
Wow, that's a good question too. I think it depends on who you ask. But since you are asking me, I don't feel that all kids coming on the planet nowadays are starseeds. I do feel that a lot of the children that are coming onto the planet nowadays are becoming more sensitive, okay? And that has to do with a lot of things, okay? So some of it has to do with the vibration of the planet shifting, okay? So we're becoming gradually more aware, more conscious of who we are as spiritual beings. Okay. Sometimes you have parents that, so here's another thing. Sometimes you have parents that maybe were sensitive and didn't accept it. So what happens is they have a child that's sensitive like they are, but is maybe even more sensitive, okay, as a reflection of who they really are on the inside. Okay. I would say that some are starseeds, some may be what would be called light workers. So they may be earth souls, but just more attuned to the light and source energy. Some come from the angelic realm. So this is what I mean. Not everyone necessarily comes from another planet or star system. Some may come from different dimensions, like the angelic realm. Some may be more like elemental. So some may be carrying a fairy-like energy. Okay, so they protect the planet. Some people may come from, I'm trying to think what else. Let's see, fairies. Some people may be like unicorns, like unicorns incarnated in a physical body, helping people to embrace the magic within them. And then honestly, sometimes you have those souls which, you know, are still spiritual beings, but they may not necessarily be attuned to that energy in this lifetime. And that's part of their path also, is to go back to that, go back to the source. I was told by the angelic realm that everyone is actually on the same journey. So we're all on the same journey to remember the same thing, that we all come from light and love. And some people are further along and some people aren't. Okay, so I think we have a mixture of beings on the planet right now. More star seeds, but definitely not all of them, not all children. Okay, so that's my answer.
Thank you. Next question we have is, are these beings you talk about from other worlds still here, or are they coming back?
Let's see. I'm trying to see if I can understand the question. I think maybe what they may be trying to say is like, are they physical on the planet? And or some of them like from other worlds, and will they be coming back in the physical? I personally don't feel that the higher vibrational loving beings are going to be making an appearance like that. Okay. I feel like the higher vibrational loving beings are going to be supporting the people that carry their frequency to come into a physical body and transform the planet. I feel like the higher vibrational loving beings are going to be shifting the planet through these people. And if they do present themselves, it's going to be through like more of a spiritual presence. And I feel like they want to help people to tune into that higher vibration, as opposed to it being physical. Now, there are some people that have seen signs like different ships, you know, present themselves in like the night sky. I personally, I can't say if those are high vibrational loving beings or not. And, you know, that's something for the person to determine when they see it. You know, but I personally feel at this point in time in my spiritual growth that the beings that are of love and light are not necessarily going to present themselves physically, you know. So that's what I feel.
Thank you, Saiedah. Next question. Is this the same as an indigo child?
Okay, good question. Lots of good questions. I like that. So the term indigo tends to be a subcategory, okay, of people. The people that are termed indigo tend to be starseeds, yes. So an indigo tends to be a starseed that has incarnated on the planet during a certain period of time. You know, I don't always use those subcategories because they can be a bit restrictive. I feel like sometimes people will feel like indigos, but will say, well, I'm not an indigo because I wasn't born between the 1960s and, you know, whatever time indigos are supposed to be a part of, you know, the time period. You know, but the starseed, indigo, like the indigo, crystal, and rainbow children, these are subcategories of star people. Okay. So yeah, it's pretty much the same. The indigo, crystal, and rainbow thing is really about time period and the specific energy frequency they come in with. So like indigos tend to be like the ones who deconstruct the old systems, and then the crystals and rainbows follow after. be honest, I don't really pay attention to the crystal and rainbow thing. As long as you know who you are, that's the point. You may not always have a label for it. So that's my answer.
Thank you, Saiedah. The next question that we have is, can you please repeat about the qualities of a Pleiadian?
Okay. Yes. Okay. So now I have to remember myself because I don't remember all the qualities, but Pleiadians tend to be some of the most sensitive of the star races. And each star system has kind of like a center within the body and the spirit that tends to be a core center for them. So the Pleiadians are all about the heart, okay, or the cosmic heart. So it tends to be all about divine love, about sharing, about caring. They tend to be very emotionally sensitive. They may get involved with Reiki and energy healing, like specifically Reiki. I notice Pleiadians tend to be involved in. Sometimes Pleiadians tend to be very, I'm trying to remember, I don't remember everything. But they also tend to have issues with emotional boundaries. I feel like that's a big one. Because they really want to help people, they tend to have issues with asserting themselves and their boundaries. So they may be very empathic and that they're absorbing other people's vibrations and may assume someone else's calling as their own, but they need to learn how to cut it off, not totally disown people, but just have an understanding of their own energy, what's their energy to work with. And to know that in order to help people, you really got to know your own energy and assert your own boundaries, or else you're just an empty container. And if you're an empty container, like, what are you going to give? So that's what I can remember for now is what I just said. If I can remember more, I'll mention it.
Thank you so much, Saiedah. Mm-hmm. The next question that we have says, how can we know what is my energy signature?
Okay, so when I mention energy signature, basically when I say that, I'm just talking about the energy that you carry. Okay, so everyone has a specific energy signature, and that it's just a representation of your personality, your spirit, like the spirit you tend to have, and just like what people feel when they're around you. So for me, for instance, I tend to be an old soul, but I have a very young spirit. I'm very childlike. Okay. People also tend to feel, that I have a lot of like wisdom. They say that I feel old. Okay. So that's part of my energy signature. So that's a good way that you can kind of see like what's my energy signature. But a good way that you can see it too is through meditation, because it increases your sense of self-awareness. A lot of the stuff like that increases your sense of self-understanding can be achieved through meditation. Okay. And then also paying attention to what you notice other people telling you. Like, some people may say, well, you feel like a natural leader, or you feel like you could be a nurse. That's part of your energy signature. Okay.
Thank you. That was very enlightening, definitely. And the next question says, do animals also have an energy body?
I believe they do. Okay. So now with animals, it can get a little bit complicated because depending on the level of development they have, and this now we're touching upon some deep stuff because it can get really complicated. I'm still trying to figure this out for myself because I have a reptile. Okay, I have a reptile as a pet. And because of the development of their brain, it seems like they don't really have like an emotional connection. They can't feel love. They don't really have love for their owners. They can feel a sense of safety. They can feel a sense of security, but they're not going to have the same connection that we have, let's say with another human being. Their brains are just not the same in that way. And then if we think of it that way, where they can't have the emotional connection, that's where a lot of our intuition comes from. That's where a lot of our spiritual connection comes from, is our emotions and our feelings. So then people would wonder, like, so do they have a spirit? Do they go on? I feel like we are all connected to source, regardless of how developed our intelligences, how developed our emotions are, I feel all beings have energy. And one of the reasons why I say this too is that I've done Reiki on animals and I can sense that they feel it. I can see their spirits have like a certain reaction to it. And in that sense, I feel like, yes, I feel like animals do have an energy body. Yes. That's my answer.
Thank you. Thank you. Next question that we have here, and we're almost at the end of the questions, but this one
Okay.
says, "Why do we resist the awakening?"
I love these questions. I feel like people asking like really good questions. So the reason why we resist the awakening is because we're very comfortable in the hand that we've been dealt in this lifetime, whether it be our parents, whether it be even our pain and our struggles, all of that stuff we become very comfortable with. And everything that we become comfortable with, we assume as a part of our identity. So the same thing happens like when somebody is sick or they have some sort of illness. After a certain period of time, they just become the sick person. It becomes part of who they are as an individual. Not necessarily the most spiritually beneficial, but that's what happens. So I feel like one of the reasons why we resist is because we become comfortable. Even if the situation is not beneficial or happy, we become comfortable. We don't want to have to go through the process of separation from who we were in the past, because once we separate from that comfort zone, then we wonder, okay, so who am I now? Who am I at this point? Then we get nervous because then there's a bit of a void, and now we have to almost create a new identity. And not all of us had a chance to do that. Our identity was assumed by our parents, so we got a lot of stuff from our parents, our family members. So that took a lot of responsibility, on them, and where we didn't have to assume that responsibility. Now we're in this position where we have the power. We have the power to choose. We have the power to create. And that is a scary experience for a lot of people. So that's why I feel we resist, is because of comfort. And that's my answer.
Thank you. And the last question, it says, "How do we know if we are ready to meet our star family?"
Okay. Well, I guess it depends on who it is and how deeply in tune they are with themselves. People that are very intuitive will have a sense of, they may feel things within their body, like something is about to happen. They may feel a sense of anxiety or urgency. That tends to happen with a lot of intuitive people. They tend to get anxious when the realm of spirit is about to mesh with them or to become stronger. Some people may not necessarily know when it's the time. And I feel like a big part of this process of meeting up with our star family is to surrender, because some people, we may never know when we're ready, okay? Only thing that we can do is set the intention that we have a sense like, okay, I think I'm ready. I feel like, I want to meet them. And we can determine that by our level of openness. Try not to let fear be a determinant as to whether you're ready or not, because fear can happen whether you're ready or not. Okay, that's just a part of your ego trying to protect you from something that may or may not be harmful. It just knows past programs. It doesn't necessarily know what may happen in the future. Okay, so we may not necessarily know exactly when we're ready. If we're being brought to this process of awakening, and we're being brought all these people, all this information, then we have to trust that the next step we're going to be ready for as well. Okay, so that's my answer.
Thank you, Saiedah.
Thank you.
We reached the end of the Q&A section, okay? And before leaving, we want to remind our audience that Mindalia TV is a nonprofit organization. Our mission is just to share information that can raise the level of consciousness around the world, and you can help us by subscribing to our channel, liking this video, leaving us a positive comment down below. In that way, you help us reach as much people as possible around the world. Before leaving, also, Saiedah, we want to give you just a moment to say goodbye for now.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for everyone that tuned in, and I hope that the information was helpful to everyone, and I hope to see you all again soon. And I bid you farewell until next time.
Thank you. And to our audience as well, thank you for being with us today, for sharing this time. And thank you, Saiedah, for sharing that information with us. It was very valuable. And
Thank you.
goodbye.
Bye.